Professor Ashwath Damodaran has completely ripped apart the concept of ESGs in his new article, saying, "The truth is that ESG scores today measure everything. Consequently, they measure nothing." First, of what are ESGs that keep American corporations on a leash? Here's Vivek Ramaswamy explaining how they work with an example of what happened at Apple.
Public company, like let's say you take your company here public, which I would advise you not to do. Firms do need to go public for a wide range of reasons. You don't have a choice in terms of who owns your shares. And so it's automatic, it's programmatic that BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, and similar firms, through their index funds, because they're not even making investment decisions. It's just that they have to have broad exposure to the market. They will end up owning 5, 6, 7% each, 25%, 30% collectively. And they're voting their shares in your boardrooms. The world's largest company by market capitalization, right? We all know Apple. They were demanded by a fringe left-wing group that held a few shares to adopt what they called the racial equity audit at Apple. And Apple says, no, we don't want to do that. BlackRock and State Street come in and say, we're going to vote and support that proposal anyway. It gets majority shareholder support at Apple's shareholder meeting, such that Apple's management team and board then go back and adopt the racial equity audit.
And this one picture should tell you what's wrong with ESG scoring. However, the companies ranked higher on the ESG index largely underperformed, leading to this situation, as explained by FT.
What they argue is that by focusing too heavily on environmental and social concerns, companies risk neglecting their fiduciary duty to maximize returns for their clients and shareholders. These complaints are having an impact. Some US banks have warned they may actually pull out of the corporate alliances that have promised to cut carbon emissions across entire industries.
Now here are the two issues that Ashwath Damodaran brings out. Number one is how ESG changed course from selling the idea of its goodness to investors to one where it started claiming that higher ESG scores meant higher returns. Number two is how ESG pressures prompted public fossil fuel firms to divest, but private equity filled the gap, showing a complete failure of the environmental goals set by the system. And it is not just a right-wing issue or an issue with which academics have a problem. Here's how Warren Buffett replied when asked about ESG scoring in his company.
Corporate America is very worried about, in general, they're very worried about whether somebody's going to upset their apple cart, and with activists and everything. So they want to be very sure that every shareholder is happy on issues like that. And in the end, fortunately, we don't have to worry about that, so we don't have to run up a lot of expenses doing things that don't actually let us run the business